Hello, it's me.
The music producer shook his head after listening to Adele's first demo and said, "This woman will never sell." It wasn't just her voice. Everything was wrong. Her appearance, her weight, her style. In 2006, on the streets of London, no one could have predicted that this 18-year-old girl would sell over 100 million albums a decade later, become Beyoncé's idol, and be invited by Barack Obama to sing at the White House. But during those dark days when all doors were closing in her face, there was an unquenchable flame burning inside Adele. This is the story of how a girl who wasn't pretty enough proved she had the most powerful voice in the world. Adele Laurie Blue Atkins was born on May 5, 1988 in Tottenham, North London. Her mother, Penny Atkins, was only 18 years old, and her father, Mark Evans, abandoned them when Adele was just 4 years old. Penny had to raise her daughter alone, and it was never easy. Tottenham was one of London's toughest neighborhoods. High crime rates, difficult economic conditions, and a place that didn't promise much of a future. Penny worked various jobs to make ends meet. Massage therapist, furniture store employee, cleaning lady, whatever work she could find, she did it for her daughter. Little Adele was introduced to music through her mother. Penny constantly played music at home. Etta James, Ella Fitzgerald, Aretha Franklin, The Cure, Jeff Buckley. Music was the only luxury in their small home. When Adele was just 5 years old, she would spend her time listening to her mother's record collection. "My mum was my biggest inspiration," Adele would say years later. "Through her, I discovered music. Every morning when I woke up, there was music playing in the house. That was normal for me." When Adele was 9, there was a major change in their lives. Her mother Penny had found a new job, and they had to move to Brixton. Brixton wasn't an easy place either, but at least it seemed a bit more hopeful. At her new school, Adele was a quiet and shy child. Because she was overweight, she was often teased by her peers. Teachers described her as talented but introverted. Adele had trouble making friends and often spent time alone. But at home, next to her mother, she was completely different. When music played, she came alive and started singing. Penny had noticed the natural power in her daughter's voice, but she never imagined something like a music career. After all, they were ordinary people, and a glamorous world like the music industry seemed very far away from them. When she was 10, Adele became a fan of the Spice Girls. But the real turning point came when she was 11 and heard Lauryn Hill's The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill album. That album completely changed Adele's perspective on music. "When I heard Lauryn Hill, I understood how powerful music could be," she would say. "She wasn't just singing, she was telling stories. She was conveying her emotions. I wanted to do the same." At 12, she was introduced to the guitar. With a cheap acoustic guitar her mother bought her, she began playing songs at home. At first, she only imitated songs she knew. Then she started creating her own little melodies. Adele's voice proved to be truly special when she was 14. There was a talent competition at school, and her friends convinced her to participate. When she got on stage, she was very nervous. Her hands were shaking. But when she started singing, the hall fell completely silent. A teacher who watched that performance approached Adele and said, "You're really special. You need to develop this voice." This was the moment when Adele realized that music wasn't just a hobby for her, but a real talent. High school years were both challenging and transformative for Adele. She attended a state school in Croydon and was still being teased by her peers for being overweight. But she was now taking music more seriously. At 16, the biggest opportunity of her life came. She was accepted to the Brit School, British Record Industry Trust. This school was a prestigious music institution where names like Jessie J and Leona Lewis had also graduated. But there was a problem. The school fees were very expensive, and they didn't have that kind of money. Penny did everything she could to ensure her daughter didn't miss this opportunity. She took extra jobs, borrowed money, even sold some of her belongings. "I was ready to do anything for my daughter," she would say years later. "I was aware of her talent and knew she needed to develop it." Her first days at the Brit school were shocking for Adele. Most of the students there came from wealthy families, had professional equipment, and some had already made small-scale recordings. Adele, on the other hand, was still a girl from Tottenham singing with a cheap guitar at home. She felt excluded at school. Both her appearance and social class made other students approach her with distance. But everything changed during music classes. When she sang, it didn't matter who she was or where she came from. There was just that magnificent voice. Her teachers immediately noticed Adele's potential, but they constantly gave her suggestions about her appearance. It would be good if you lost some weight, if you did your hair differently, if you changed your style of dress. These comments deeply hurt Adele. "It was as if they were measuring my worth only by my appearance," she would say. "I had musical talent, but I wasn't pretty enough." This was very painful. At 17, she wrote her first serious song. This song, which she named Hometown Glory, told of her love for London and her roots. When she performed the song at a school show, everyone in the hall gave her a standing ovation. At that moment, she realized that no matter what she looked like, she could touch people with her music. But the real change came in 2006. At 18, when she was about to graduate, a friend told her about MySpace. At the time, MySpace was a very popular platform for musicians. Adele also created a profile and uploaded 3 songs she had recorded herself: Hometown Glory, Daydreamer, and My Sing. She didn't have quality equipment. She had made these recordings at home with a simple recording device. She was singing with her guitar, sometimes her mother making background sounds. It looked very amateurish, but the voice, that magnificent voice, was there. In the first days, only a few people listened to her songs. Adele was beginning to lose hope. Maybe they were right. Maybe she really couldn't be successful. But then, something unexpected happened. One day, her phone rang. The caller was an A&R representative from XL Recordings. "Hello, Adele. I'm Richard Russell. I listened to your MySpace profile and wanted to meet with you." Adele initially thought this was a joke. XL Recordings was a prestigious company to which big names like Radiohead and the White Stripes were signed. But Richard had really called. "When I heard your voice, I was shocked," Richard would say years later. "It was so raw, so powerful, so emotional. I immediately knew I had to meet this girl." The meeting was held in a small cafe in central London. Adele was very excited but also scared. What if they changed their minds when they saw her? What if they gave up because of her appearance? When she met Richard, it wasn't as Adele expected. The man was warm and sincere. First, he chatted with her, asking where she came from, how she got into music. Then, he gave her a small guitar and asked her to sing a few songs. Adele sang Hometown Glory. Other customers in the cafe started listening too. Richard's eyes welled up. "This voice is real," he murmured. "This is very rare." From that day on, everything changed rapidly. XL Recordings wanted to make a deal with Adele, but Adele decided to be careful. Following her mother's advice, she also met with different companies. Everywhere she went, she heard the same comments. "Your voice is amazing, but your appearance is a problem." Some offered her said they found it one-dimensional. Adele's confidence began to waver. Maybe they were right. Maybe she was just an average singer, but Richard Russell didn't give up. "You haven't written the right song yet," he told her. "You can do bigger things." At the beginning of 2008, Adele experienced a great love in her life. She never revealed the details, but this relationship deeply affected her. She was happy, experiencing true love for the first time. But this love didn't last long. When the relationship ended, Adele's heart was shattered. She cried for days, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. But this pain added a new dimension to her music. She poured her pain into songs. Songs like Chasing Pavements, Best for Last, Right as Rain were written during this period. The pain in her voice, that raw emotion, touched listeners' hearts directly. In January 2008, she released her first album, 19. The album's name came from her being 19 when she recorded it. The album slowly began climbing the charts in the UK, but the real breakthrough happened in America. One night, she performed on the popular TV show Saturday Night Live. The day after that night, her album jumped to #1 on Amazon's bestseller list. "Nothing prepared me for that night," Adele would say. "Everything changed overnight, but it was also very scary." Suddenly, she was famous. Magazines wanted to interview her. Television shows were inviting her. Concert offers were coming. But this fame also brought new challenges. The media began to focus on her appearance. News appeared with headlines like "overweight singer, normal-looking star." Some commentators said she wasn't marketable and couldn't be successful in the long run. These comments upset Adele very much, but she was stronger now. "I'm a singer, not a model," she would say. "People will know me through my music." In 2009, she won the Best New Artist Award at the Grammy Awards. When she took the stage that night, she saw the hall giving her a standing ovation. She was living the moment she had dreamed of since childhood. But the real big success would come with her second album. In 2010, she experienced a new love. This time the relationship lasted longer but again ended painfully. Adele was more devastated this time, but she was more experienced now in transforming it into music. At the beginning of 2011, she wrote the song "Rolling in the Deep." The song told of her anger and pain about her finished relationship. While recording, everyone in the studio froze. That power, that energy, that voice, it was obvious that this song was special. When the album 21 was released in January 2011, it was an earthquake in the music world. Songs like "Rolling in the Deep," "Someone Like You," "Set Fire to the Rain" became hits worldwide. The album reached #1 in 31 countries. It stayed at #1 in America for 24 weeks. Total sales exceeded 31 million copies. Adele had achieved one of the biggest successes in music history with just 2 albums. At the 2012 Grammy Awards, she won 6 awards, including Album of the Year and Song of the Year. When she took the stage that night and sang "Rolling in the Deep," the standing ovation lasted for minutes. But perhaps the biggest honor was Beyoncé announcing that she was her fan. "Adele is my idol," said the world-famous singer. That voice, that talent, incredible. In 2015, Barack Obama invited her to the White House. The president wanted Adele to sing at a special evening. That night, while Adele was singing "Someone Like You," she saw Obama's eyes well up. "I'll never forget," she would say. "I'm singing in front of the President of the United States. I've come all the way here from Tottenham." When her third album, 25, was released in 2015, it broke all records in the music industry. It sold 2.3 million copies in just its first day. The song "Hello" was watched 27 million times on YouTube in the first 24 hours. With this album, Adele proved that she was one of the most successful artists in music history. Her total album sales exceeded 120 million. She had won a total of 15 awards at the Grammys. But perhaps her biggest success was that she had never changed. Despite all the fame, money, and success, Adele was still the same Adele. She still lived in London, still dressed simply, and was still that warm, smiling woman. "I never changed," she says. "I'm still Adele from Tottenham. I just sing on bigger stages now." The house she bought for her mother was a sign of her gratitude to the woman who supported her on this journey. Penny was living the happiness of seeing her daughter's success. "My mother always believed in me," says Adele. "Even in my darkest days, she said, 'You can do it.' She's my biggest hero." Raucously, today Adele is one of the most respected names in the music world. Comments about her appearance are now very rarely heard, because everyone understood that real talent cannot be limited by any physical feature. Her advice to young artists is always the same: be yourself. It doesn't matter what others tell you. Whatever you believe in, be that. Adele's story is the story of how a rejected young person became the world's most beloved artist. But it's also the story of the power of authenticity, that real talent can overcome any obstacle. The young girl who was told, "You're not pretty enough," is now, in the eyes of millions, the woman with the most beautiful voice in the world. And this is about the beauty she carries in her heart, not her appearance. So, what do you believe in? The negative comments others make about you, or your own potential? Adele's story shows that real beauty comes from within, and true success comes from being yourself. Her journey from a broken-hearted teenager, writing songs in her bedroom, to selling out stadiums worldwide, proves that sometimes our greatest pain becomes our greatest strength. Every rejection she faced, every cruel comment about her appearance, every moment of doubt, they all became fuel for the fire that would eventually light up stages across the globe. The music industry, that once told her she'd never succeed because she wasn't pretty enough, now celebrates her as one of the greatest voices of all time. Her authenticity didn't just win over audiences, it changed the industry itself, proving that talent transcends appearance and real artistry connects with the human soul, regardless of packaging. From Tottenham to the top of the world, Adele's story reminds us that our perceived weaknesses can become our greatest strengths. And sometimes, the very thing that makes us different is exactly what the world needs to hear.